Oh, Ginger won't be here because he's obviously in NA, so he is not going to be here for this one. So I'm just going to review it as a macro and then he can watch it later. Alright, let's get started.
That's smart.
So this bubble here it does its job, most definitely. So this bubble's good, right? It does its job. It blocks the LOS from the heal into the Zarya. It blocks the heal into the Winston, who's over here on high ground. Again, micro adjustment though would be to have dropped off the end of here, like this, off the end like this, and had the bubble just a bit further along. Again, you're going to maximize, you're still going to get the value from cutting the heal. The Brig Bash is going to be harder to hit because the bubble's a bit further. And the Zarya has to go a further distance to get the heal as well. And you're also kind of going to be blocking a much bigger LOS than just this half of the choke. So say a support wanted to come, say the Winston needed heal, the supports can make a small rotation to play here. But if this bubble is kind of starting to clip around here a bit more, like clip this very corner a bit further, it makes it harder for the supports as well. Right, so this is all good positioning. Just a small adjustment to the bubble here makes a massive difference, right? So instead of having the bubble down where it is now, right here, you have the bubble, say, off the end of here, you have it here. It then kind of comes out to this range, which makes it then harder for the supports. I'm not sure whether it's a scrim, he didn't tell me, but either way, I'll review it as is. Again, just the slight adjustments are going to make the big difference, drawing every kind of drop of resource that you can. Oh, it is, yeah, there are stats. I think this was for the new Elo Hell team. But I'm not 100% sure, don't quote me on that. But I think it is, because he's the main tank for the Elo Hell roster that they have for like ODs. But this is good. In general, this is very, very good bubble positioning. You're getting all of the value out of it. Again, he can make minor adjustments in just positioning it. But other than that, this bubble is very good. It does exactly what it should do. Back up to high. Gets unlucky he doesn't have his kind of like one of his DPS with him. To kind of kill the Zarya, but it happens, I guess, with these kind of newer teams. Especially at this level where most of these players are kind of 4-4, 4-3. He gets an early bubble from his Zarya, which is probably not what he wanted. Again, this is almost a perfect bubble. He's got the right concept here of where this bubble should be going. I think he could have held the bubble off a little bit longer as well. So he's jumped in and bubbled the corner. Again, you have to understand that there is extra value to be gained here. So if he holds onto this bubble just a little bit longer, although he does isolate the Ana from the sleep, which is again very good, he can't be like auto-slept. So again, I mean, in all honesty, he could probably get the bubble a little bit further, get a bit more value out of it, but in honesty, the Ana had to step into his bubble to nade him there, so again, with a bit more follow-up from his team, I think that was a good engage as well. I think, again, adjustments to the bubble can be made, and where he leapt could have gone further left, but see how high charge our Zarya is. Okay, so our Zarya is very low charge. So I think the issue comes here with his dives are good, but his Zarya isn't bubbling him at the right times, or he's not comming with his Zarya properly. So he's having to drop his bubble early, and dropping the bubble early is causing him to not get the best value out of it, I think. His Zarya is not very high charge, and he's trying to get her charge by placing these well. The Zarya bubble isn't there. Right, so from his point, he's playing this very well. Other than his bubbles are too early because his Zarya is not giving them to him. The Zarya bubble's not going to him. Again, good position. He's avoiding taking any poke here whatsoever. It's good starting position. Again, the bubble does a good job here of isolating the Ana. She jumps off as well. I think here he was looking for a bubble from his Zarya. I believe she had bubble and 4. Okay. So again, just poor coordination between the two of them on where the bubble should be and what the bubble should be doing. He's playing it very divey rather than very brawly, which kind of defeats the point of playing the Winston Zarya. So he needs to be out in their face a bit more with the Zarya bubble. His Zarya needs to be like ready to go in, wanting to brawl with him. There's no real two phases to this. He's just done a couple of soft dives, and his Zarya didn't get any charge, which means that him diving the backline is going to have very little impact. And they were I'm not sure how close they were to Nano, but it sounds like they just used the Nano. So, from his perspective, there's not much he's done wrong. You can make micro adjustments, obviously, but there's not necessarily much he's done wrong here. Again, good map knowledge, knowing where to jump, when to get out. Did get a late bubble from his Zarya. Again, can get a lot more value out of the Zarya bubble, but it's not necessarily his fault. This is just poor communication. Okay, good going straight for the Zarya because she loses all of her shield in EMP. As like 50% of her health, I think, is made up of like personal shielding, or like shield health. So going for the Zarya straight off the bat is good. She's isolated, she's away. I don't think he needed to use the bubble here. I think this bubble definitely gets wasted. Yeah, we definitely don't need the bubble here. So save the bubble, and then it would have gone to much better use, either being on the high ground here, or it could have been better used just to block the grab. Right, so either way, the bubble here wasn't needed on the Zarya. She was going to die anyway. She was out in the open. Her supports are backed up around this corner, trying to avoid EMP. It's a good EMP, and then these guys probably needed the bubble way, way more. But again, not necessarily poor decision making, but it could be better. Hello, Josh. Again, at the elo Ginger's at right now, it's all about squeezing that extra, just isolating mistakes, making sure they don't happen, and then you're always going to play your best, right? But again, it's genuine, just small errors in decision making and some micro adjustments to how he's positioning his bubble that are going to make the big difference here, right? So. Okay, so this fight is won already, right? They EMP'd, they got the Brig, they've killed the Brig, they lost their Brig, but it shouldn't matter, right? This fight is won, really, in essence. So that there's no need to be able to there should be no need to want to invest Primal into this, right? You shouldn't want to invest Primal here. So, with this situation, you shouldn't be looking to invest Primal at all. Right, he's killed the Brig. Okay, yes, you lost your Brig to Pulse Bomb, but she's coming back on a faster respawn than either of these two up here, right? So there's very little need to go this deep. He's 300 here, and antied. Best option, back up and take this corner. There's no need to invest Primal here. It should be a one fight, and you have respawns, right? So back it up. No need to take fights here when you're antied and low, even though you have Primal, right? There's no need to invest it. You've already invested what? EMP. You've already invested EMP and won the fight. Good enough for me, right? You don't need any more. More than you've already invested anyway. Maybe you could chuck in, I don't know, like a nano or a pulse or a high noon if you get it, but not really needed. Definitely shouldn't be looking to try and force onto the Ana here, and to be honest, he's lucky he doesn't get one shot at 100 HP. Okay. It slowed the Primal down though.
This will only hurt for a
So Ginger's very good with his Primal mechanics. So, booped. Now, this is really important as well. I don't think many of you will have noticed that little adjustment to the leap there. Drop that back a second. Okay, so yeah, this is really important for the mechanic. This is what lands him the kill as well. He jumps and he hits this wall, right? To stop the leap momentum carrying him too far, and B, to get the splash onto whoever is on the floor here. So it reduces his leap and allows him to get the hit onto the Tracer and the Ana. Splits the Ana. Yeah, so he overleapt there. He probably wanted to hit this corner here. Again, now he needs to use this last jump to get out and get the jump reset as well. Okay, little bit greedy, little bit lucky. So he should have realized that he has 1 HP, like 1 second left on the Primal. He should have jumped out and then had the second jump if he needed it. Well, even a short jump would have done fine just to put pressure. Here he lets it run out and then uses his 1 leap, rather than getting that last leap off and then looking to jump backwards with the final one of his Primal. Very good Primal mechanics there, like using the wall. He missed a couple of them where he wanted to hit the wall, it looks like, but other than that, the Primal mechanics, looking at the wall, aiming for the wall, is really, really useful.
My ultimate is almost ready. My shield's up. Shield holding. Fire at will. No powder. Get in there.
Powerful, and I'm not even angry.
You're powered up. Get in.
This bubble is so almost perfect. Like, I don't know if you can see this on stream as well because of all the colours. But this bubble is nigh on perfect with how it cuts. It cuts off this monkey from the Grav, but it also, this Tracer and Zarya it's unfortunate that it's the Zarya and Tracer that are split, and there's 2, so she can just bubble 1 and kind of save them. But the bubble cuts very well into this Grav. It's hard to get a read on just where the bubble exactly is, but it is really like slicing this grav. The bubble line is there if you can't see it on stream properly. Cutting the Winston out, and it also denies a lot of value to their Winston bubble as it cuts it in half as well. So the Winston has to play in a kind of backed up area, but very good bubble in general. He tends to do well with his bubbles, and it's something I have worked with him on in the past. Good anti as well. That's a lot of value, especially if he's nanoed as well. But again, for anyone learning to play Winston, or looking to play Winston, this is kind of almost... I'm being very picky with gnja because I know he's a very, very solid Winston player in particular. But for anyone learning to play Winston, this is very good to learn from and very good to try and understand. Because this is nigh good gameplay, but again, with this Zarya, he needs to be a bit more coordinated. He's not really taking many very brawly engages yet. We've seen kind of ults used as a way to engage fights with this comp, but again, from the basic standpoint of this, he's too far away here. Happily play this corner, but play in this region. Just don't peek the corner. He's way too far away here. I'm not sure what the plan was here, but he's too far away here. He needs to be way, way, way closer. This is way too far. He needs to be much closer. Especially if the plan is a counter dive with rally, then again, doesn't need to use leap to force this Sombra out either. Again, the cooldown usage is super important on Winston. He didn't need to use the leap to force the Sombra. If you just drop and walk over to her and go, hi, I'm here, hi, yeah, go on, leave, walk away, I know you will, then she'll leave, right? Maybe invest a bubble if you have to, but again, you have God-given legs, you can use them here without too much of a problem. Okay, now let's see how in charge his Zarya is. 40 and no bubbles. Okay. So again, a lot of this comp is based on how his Zarya is playing around him, or how he's playing around his Zarya. His Zarya seems very hesitant to give him, or they seem hesitant to use bubbles to gain charge, and their Zarya seems to burn bubbles very quickly, right? She's never got two, so it's very difficult to time engages properly. Because look at this. So from the enemy team's point of view, right, their Zarya is not necessarily fully charged. She's high charge for sure. 60, right? So she's not immensely charged, but for anyone wanting to learn double bubble, look at the positioning of this team. The Winston bubble is their front line here, right? This bubble is their kind of front point. They have their Brig hitting through the bubble, causing Inspire to trigger, right? So you have huge amounts of sustain from this Brig. We then have the Zarya in a decent range. She could pressure here or come closer to the corner, right? Micro position changes. She can make a move this way, right? But the fight's just started. Here, in all honesty, EMP is not the thing that's winning the fight here. This will be just pure brawl mechanic out of the fact that their Brig is frontlining, their Zarya is here. They're going to win this out of just pure positioning and brawling the fight. Look how far back our Zarya is. For him, that's incredibly difficult to get any value from. And obviously getting hit with the EMP now. Okay. go more micro into the bubble. So, again, more micro into the bubble. He's going for the break here. So, this bubble is not woeful, but this Zarya isn't as isolated as she could be. She could do much more work on this style of Zarya, right? So, I think the bubble has to be, you know, like, here, so to speak, right? Because then the area it's covering... Oh, thank you for the follow drop. Français, je peux le faire en français si tu veux. Ça change pas beaucoup. C'est plus dur, mais je peux le faire. Oui, oui. So, the bubble would then cover this kind of area. Which would isolate the monkey more, and idealistically, the Zarya doesn't even have to be in the bubble for it to get value, right? She can be on this far side of the bubble, and it do just as it do even more work, right? Coming from a Swedish person, Sam, I don't think that's acceptable, really. But again, the bubble they don't have to be in the bubble to get value from the bubble. The bubble can be further forward and still isolate way more and do way more LOS blocking. This bubble is, I feel, panicked and used as potential protection. Again, it does get a lot of value in protecting, but in isolating terms, this Zarya can probably get out okay, maybe. It's not a bad bubble by any means. Again, improvements though. Personally, if you trust your team, this bubble goes further forward. But in essence, the bubble does a good job. It blocks the Zarya damage onto the rest of our team, who are low. But again, our Zarya is not anywhere close to where she needs to be doing any kind of work. And we abandon the bubble very quickly, so... Very tunnel visioned on the Ana. Okay, chase the Sombra, that's good. Again, we don't need the bubble here. Like, the bubble he uses on high ground here is just... I feel like it's muscle memory, right? Kicking in. It's just kind of... Not quite... It's kind of just, oh, I followed. I mean, I feel like he could do a better job. It blocks the sleep, by all means, yes. I don't think so. I don't think he's trying to stop the Ana. I think he's blocked the sleep, for one. If I slow it down, you'll be able to see it better. So, this is a sleep dart from the Ana coming out here. But in all honesty here, this bubble wouldn't have saved him either. I don't think it'd have hit him in the toe, I think, but personally, his first port of call, knowing that if he's not tracked to sleep, especially, more importantly, he should have just automatically dipped here as he lands, just kind of aim for the very, very edge and just fall off of it, right? Because that's the best way to avoid the sleep, and it's only a Sombra, right? She's low HP, you have leap again, so good leap mechanics in general. I mean, I probably would have tried to pull my jump back. Yeah, so all I'm saying is he needs to land on the corner rather than like on here and just drop off, as even if it's like a personal objective, right? Even if the Sombra wasn't planning to drop off the high ground, like, this gives you... Landing on the edge means that the sleep is less likely to hit because you're just going to drop straight off around a corner. So in general terms, just landing on the corner and being ready to drop off if you see that sleep coming is a potential really important option, right? Because it's good, right? He has leap, he forces, the bubble gets somewhat value, right? It would have potentially blocked the sleep. But again, need a bit more. Just a bit of cleanup, a bit more. Because he doesn't have bubble here to potentially help him later. But again, the fight's won, so I don't really mind it too much. Again, it's just drawing the extra value. It's not necessarily mistakes, it's just drawing additional value from...
Coming through.
Help me. I'm out. Yoda, there they are.
This will protect us.
So these guys went... This Winston went quite in already, all things considered. It's a good bubble. Again, it can be potentially adjusted, but the bubble does its job here, right? We're brawling very heavily, so this fight's most likely won already, just by the heavy brawl that we're putting down, or this team is putting down.
Fire at will.
Okay. This was definitely a poorly timed grab. And he's going to have to force value because he's low. He's guaranteed to die here no matter what happens. Because of how low he got.
This will protect us.
Again, the bubble's good. He should probably have tried to land on the corner here and play around the corner like a kind of Rhine would, instead of landing on this side and being kind of stuck on their side of the grav. Just so that he can care his life and not get antied at the same time. Again, they're going to end up... They've already won this fight, right? But he definitely can adjust how he played this. So if I reel it back again. Need to... So he lands on this side of the wall rather than landing like on top of the grav, which would be on this corner here. If he lands here, the bubble will get the same value in isolating the supports. Excuse me. But he's then safe to play where Zarya was playing, back here, where his supports can see him much easier. He's out of LOS here, and he's much more open to the nade hitting him. Whereas if he lands on this corner, the Ana can throw nade to keep her team alive, and the bubble will still get the same value, right? His team's Ana does well to get the anti off. I don't think they would have cleaned up properly if that anti nade doesn't hit.
Beacon in place.
It's quite hard to predict though what you said there, Harry, in the sense.
Enemies on my radar.
60 seconds remaining.
EMP activated.
Okay, very aggro, gone straight for the Zarya. Again, we can make micro adjustments to bubble and movement here. So
60 seconds remaining.
this Winston fully overextends. He does well to boop this Winston kind of and the Zarya back into the corner. So he lands on the corner, boops both back in. Again, I think you guys can understand that the bubble can be again adjusted to be moved this direction. Again, you're going to isolate any potential kind of reactionary shield bash. So if the brig is on, if the bubble kind of is covering here, this is like idealistic, right? The bubble lands around kind of, I know, even here, but moving the edges so that they just overlap a bit more this way. Any instinctive shield bash from the brig is likely to hit the bubble, especially if she's not thinking, whereas here, any shield bash is going to be, well, she's got plenty of time to think about it. It's not going to be an instinctive shield bash anymore because the bubble's in front of her face, right? Good EMP though, I mean, it's micro things, right? Like, there's nothing major wrong with that. It's a good fight plan, in essence. Grav EMP's a bit extra, but you have nano primal after. Okay. Their Tracer kind of carries. We need to just back off. It jumps in the air, which is kind of risky, especially the potential splash, but if it doesn't kill anyone, then it's okay.
30 seconds remaining.
We've gotten this far. Let's not screw it up now. Enemies on my radar. Get in there.
Guess there's are nice. Okay.
Where were we?
Good time to pause, Ginger. Not gonna expose you. Early on the primal, but I think he gets away with it. It ends up working for him because of the sleep hitting. But you shouldn't really want to primal off the bat like that. You want to lose your HP first. Like, he lost like 3 seconds on the primal before he's even been in a position to do anything. Which again is a little bit wasteful. Again, contacts the wall to cut the jump short. And then uses the... Can drop it back just a second. So, contact with the wall, but using the extended hitbox to make contact with the Zarya. Using the jump damage, like the jump knockback as an additional punch to kind of like push her even further so that she's in the edge of the hitbox of the hit, like the physical movement of the hit. And then potentially getting that extra hit off. So she's kind of getting double booped, so she's getting the initial boop from the kind of the Winston hitting the ground, and then she's getting the boot from him swinging through the hitbox. So that's kind of looking down towards the Zarya. So looking down towards the kind of Zarya's toe region. As the splash from the hit leaps, you chuck a swing, and it does the additional whack. Hence why she goes so far. So again, just a little breakdown on the primal. Using the wall to cut the jump distance. So he cuts his momentum with the jump, so he's not jumping over her. And then he's timed the hit, the connection with the ground, with the connection of the swing while looking down to get the additional kind of big whack movement. This one's one of his better ones, other than the fact he wasted 3 seconds of it.